Well, hey there, Luskatiers. Welcome back to the podcast. My
Welcome
name's
back.
Levi.
And I'm Jennie, and we
we're
are
your
Lusko.
hosts.
And you are a Luskatier, unless you just happened to join, and you may not call yourself a Luskatier, but we're hoping that you will call yourself a Luskatier.
I feel like I got trapped inside your brain for a minute there, and it was scary. I never thought I was getting out. We are so glad that you are trying us out. No, we're assuming family, Jennie. It's the assumption of love.
I know, but I guess that was my way of welcoming new people.
That wasn't good. That was going to be scary to them. That they feel like they're getting jumped into a gang or like initiated into a cult or something. That's not what we want.
It's a family.
We just want the familial. We're happy that you're listening to our podcast. You know,
Okay, I'm so glad you're here today.
that's the energy we're after. Jennie, there is so much going on. We have an incredible, I would say, one of the better conversation topics we've maybe have ever had. Let me just say right out the gate, this conversation is all about how to raise children that can handle tough things and do tough things without us putting so much pressure on them to do things that they end up, we end up inflicting trauma on them.
Yeah.
That's the promise we're making, that's where we're going in this conversation today.
Yes. And if you want to have a relaxed confidence in parenting and in training your kids, like this was beautiful.
Yeah, and how to have by the end of it, we're gonna talk with a parenting expert, literally a licensed counselor who spends her days counseling children.
Mm-hmm.
So we've all thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing that's gonna put my kids into counseling one day? But then we end up overdoing it to where we end up raising these so-called snowflakes. So I think it's that tension, and that's where we're going to go in this conversation. We'll have Sissy Goff on in just a minute.
Yes. Gosh, but I can't believe that our Wonder of Advent tour starts tonight.
Recapturing.
Night.
What am I doing here? I got to get dressed.
In Spring Hill, Tennessee. Yeah, you do need to get dressed.
Sorry, what about my hair? How's my hair looking? Is that working? It's getting longer.
It looks so good.
You like that?
Yeah, especially right now.
Pineapple? Is that good? A little bit?
It's amazing.
Got pineapple vibes?
There's so much volume.
Thank you. It's just so dirty. Okay, so I didn't get my hair wet in the cold plunge today.
Oh, normally that's your bath?
That was my shower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, bath is a better way to put it.
So tonight we're at the Bridge Church.
Oh my gosh.
In Spring Hill, Tennessee.
I don't know if it still works for you to get there. But the tour does kick
just so
off.
you know, and even to be praying, but it all starts tonight, and I'm so excited for this special tour that we're embarking on.
First night of tour energy. Last night was the rehearsal. A lot going on. Of course, we'll be in Georgia tomorrow. We're in North Carolina on the 1st of December, then into Texas for a couple days, Netherlands, New Braunfels, Fort Worth, Cleburne, then into Birmingham on the 14th, Orlando, Windermere area, and then it's right next to Disney World, by the way, and very close to SeaWorld.
Oh.
If anyone has Shamu's number, give him a call. Tell him to come on by.
I've never been to that.
Too soon.
SeaWorld.
You never been to that SeaWorld?
Yeah. Isn't there another SeaWorld in San Diego?
I think there's a lot of SeaWorlds around the world.
Okay. So
it got bought by Busch Gardens.
It's
a whole thing. Okay, well, maybe you can.
Maybe that's a cry for me saying I really want to go to that SeaWorld.
Is that what you want? Is that what your heart desires? You want to go to SeaWorld, baby? All you want for Christmas is to go see Shamu? They don't have Shamu out anymore.
No.
Blackfish. Mm-hmm. Wow, that documentary really changed some things, didn't it?
Yeah.
One of the highlights of my childhood. You haven't seen Blackfish?
Yeah.
One of the highlights of my childhood was getting picked out of the audience to perform with Shamu.
Like the real Shamu?
Well, I don't know. There's probably like 11 Shamus. This one's name was Earl, but it's fine. He went by the stage name was Shamu. If you're a killer whale at SeaWorld, you're Shamu.
Your name is Shamu.
That's it. And
no wonder they're so angry. They don't all want to be called Shamu. They want to be known and seen as their own identity and name.
Yeah.
So they're just angry.
Yeah.
So Shamu probably wasn't even the one that did it. It's probably Earl.
That did the murders?
That did the murders.
That did the murders? Man, a lot went on. The trainer, that was a terrible thing. Then
I guess it's not really laughing matter.
Drunk person. Yeah, you're just giggling here. I think the drunk person ended up in the tank on accident.
Oh gosh, I should probably just watch it.
You don't want to break into SeaWorld and go traipsing around and end up in the killer whale tank.
Mm-mm.
That's how nightmares get built.
Mm.
I used to have this repeating nightmare as a child that I was locked in SeaWorld.
Oh.
Yeah, it's dark. I didn't know what was what. But if that ever happens to you, stay on land. Just don't go in water.
Don't
It's an
go in
easy
water.
solution.
True.
Everything's
That's
lurky
true.
and scary in
Just
the water.
use your brain. You're
Yeah,
smart.
come on, you got this. But I got picked out of the audience to come down to the front, and Shamu's up there. I'm like in close proximity to him. I got to put a fish in his mouth.
Oh my gosh.
I got to raise my hand up, and Shamu raised his hand up. And then of course, the big trick, right? Everyone knew it was coming. They had me do this one thing that was the code for Shamu, go far away, come back, and splash this little idiot. And I got soaked with all this water, and the whole audience was laughing.
Oh.
I loved it. It was a highlight of my life. What are you talking about?
So were your brothers and sisters there?
No, just my dad.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a photo of it. Me standing there. You can see on my face. It's incredible joy. Incredible joy, but
I
almost
feel like
like
that explains a lot.
like a bashful joy.
Yeah.
Like I'm bashful, but like I'm like kind of liking it a little bit. You know, it's like preview of coming attractions. That's where it all started for me, Jennie.
Shamu.
Me and Shamu and 1,000 friends in San Diego watching me get hijinks, mischief.
Wow.
Yeah. So all that to say, the
all
tour's
of
going
that
on.
to say.
Recapturing the Wonder of Advent. If you or a friend is in these areas, please do come out and see us. There probably are still tickets available. Go to levilusko.com and get some information there. But we do want to help, Jennie. We're here to serve.
Yes.
And we want to serve the people of the world when it comes to Christmas.
Mm.
You know, you got that person in your life. You don't know what to get them. So we came with 2 great suggestions.
Yes.
First suggestion would be for a parent of a teenager.
Okay. This could be life-changing.
My kid's 12, my kid's 17. What do I do?
You sign them up for Movement Conference.
What is this?
Movement Conference 2024 is happening in Big Fork, Montana, and it's gathering students from, all over the country. Our heart is for the Northwest, the West Side, but in the past we've had students come from everywhere, and we gather outside and we worship God and we have amazing speakers, and it's incredible. And
Yeah.
we're outside.
Yep, you camp. You get
If you
experience
want,
the
you could
wonders
stay
of
at a hotel
Montana
if
in
you
summer.
want.
Yeah, that's right. So put together a family group or a
Mhm.
youth group. Any student group would work. And come on out to Montana. Join in with youth groups and student groups, family groups from around the country. MVMNT24.com.
Yeah.
Print out the registration document, put it in a box, give it to your kid. They say, "What is this?" You say, "You're going to Montana, sucker."
Mm,
No, you say it nicer than that. What a great Christmas present.
that is a
It's a
great
perfect
Christmas
time to think of it.
present.
You're coming to Montana.
You could
this
get
summer.
them a cowboy hat, a cowgirl hat.
I love how
And
long you
then-
stressed the word cow in cowboy.
Cowboy.
A cowboy hat.
And then put the ticket inside. Like,
Okay, very good.
I don't know. That's
Buy
kind
a
of fun.
spur and attach it to the spur so
mhm.
the box shakes. And like, what's this? Is it a spur? And they're like, maybe it is. And then the spur is attached to registration for movement conference.
Yeah.
Or get them an igloo cooler and put a rattlesnake in it.
Negative.
Milk all the venom out so the rattlesnake's got no venom.
Milk it out.
Milk the snake, Jennie. Put the snake in the cooler like Rip did. Then the registration. Then you open the cooler. The snake jumps out. Your child fears for their life. You say, "You don't need to worry. It's been milked."
Oh my gosh.
It's just ideas. This is a brainstorm
Okay,
session.
so what's the second thing?
Oh, the second gift?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a gift for anybody in your life who likes awesome things.
Mm.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to report that Hey It's a Luskos 5-gallon bucket
It's here.
is now a myth no more.
Wow.
Let your fears be
We made it.
relieved.
We made it in
have
life.
merch, ladies and
We
gentlemen.
made it in life.
Okay, so in addition to the sticker, which is free, let's
I
not
don't
forget.
think I've ever seen a green
No,
5-gallon
look,
bucket.
You've seen what? You've seen blue, you've seen orange, but have you seen green?
Nope.
Not this
I don't
green.
even think I've seen blue.
I can think of 100 reasons why every Lusketeer needs to own the
Mhm.
5-gallon bucket.
Mhm.
You know, other podcasts may have shirts and mouse pads and decorative doilies, but not Hey It's the Luskos.
That was my next idea.
You wanted a decorative doily? Oh no, Jennie. No, we only have high caliber merch around this podcast. You can get your Hey It's the Luskos 5-gallon bucket in time for the holidays.
And just so you know, it's got English, Spanish, and French
Those are all
on
drowning
it.
warnings, right?
It's just warning, advertencia, advertisement.
Yeah, you want to watch out for that. We can't let los niños pueden caerse en esta cubeta y agojarse.
So you're gonna get, hey, it's a Luskos, but then also a cultural
be careful. You don't look.
experience.
This is a tool. You need to be careful
very
with it, like
roomy.
you would all tools.
This just in, it's very roomy.
It's 5 gallons worth of room. I think that these are going to pop up in garages all around the country, and I can't wait.
Yep.
So swing on over to levilusko.com, get you a 5-gallon bucket for that special someone in your life. You're going to want to wrap it up to throw them off the trail. Maybe put a couple bricks in the bottom, wrap it in a refrigerator box. So they're just mystified. It's heavy, but it's large. It's unwieldy, but you're not so sure. Then they're going to get to the bottom of all that. They're going to find this bucket, and they're going to think, you really thought of me. You really cared about me. So that's all we got for today.
Yeah.
On the subject of gift giving. But in all seriousness, we're thrilled to have Sissy Goff back on the conversation today. I mean, we talked about a lot of things, but one of the things that I did want to mention that's close to our heart is she talked about, the question was posed, how do we not spoil our kids while loving them?
Yeah.
How do we not helicopter them? How do we not dote on them too much? How do we not raise entitled little brats, right? Like the girl in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory who has to get rolled out.
Violet.
She just turns into a blueberry of awfulness. We don't want all that. So we asked Sissy, like, what's some of the strategies? And one of the things she mentioned is one of the things I think that has been life-giving for our home, and that is involving your children in acts of generosity at year end specifically.
Yeah.
To remind them Christmas is not about getting a bunch of gifts, but giving.
Right.
And wouldn't you say that's been instrumental these last 10 plus years in our family?
It's been huge. And I think having our kids like saving their own money to give, but then also giving them opportunities to give and to serve. And that's one thing that we're so excited about in our church is this end of year giving.
Yep.
And this vision that we have of being a generous church that gives above and beyond. And in this season we've been, it's called Firebrand, but it's for everyone who wants to
love
give in a special way.
This podcast to be an extension of our hearts and our lives. And for you Lusketiers, we know you have your own churches and lives and things you're a part of, but it wouldn't be right for us to not let you know, like, this is something that's life-changing for us.
Yes.
Every year our church goes to nonprofit outreach partners around the country and world who are doing things for homeless people, for those displaced, for church planning, for Bible translation, for, just everything you could think of. And we say, hey, what's an initiative we can get behind? And I think it's well over in excess of $500,000 worth of things that are going to literal soup kitchens and homeless shelters and pregnancy centers and all these and all of those dreams, all those initiatives. We've said, hey, at Christmas time, what would honor Jesus more? As we all shop and Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all now, it's like now this whole quarter four for retail that's got us all churning. They're saying consumer spending is expected to be at an all-time high this Christmas season.
Wow.
Coming kind of bouncing back somewhat out of this, recession and all this. But we've said, hey, let's time out here. What would make Jesus happier than the hungry being fed, than poor being preached the gospel to, than churches being opened? And so for us, we involve our kids in that. They've every year had to have a journey of faith. We don't just give them money. They got to earn it. They got to work for it. And for them, like us, to sacrificially above and beyond normal giving to local church, all the things, to say, hey, here's an extension at Christmas time of the kingdom.
Yeah. And
we would love to invite you Lusketiers to take part in the Firebrand offering. In fact, it would make my heart so happy to think that there are Lusketiers like, hey, we're in on that.
Yeah.
We're going to get in on that. And that would mean a lot to us as just Jennie and I, knowing that you guys care beyond 5-gallon buckets and the laughter.
Stickers.
Knowing like, hey, that you got to put your brand on the, that white hot, going to make a difference, going to make a mark. So if you go to freshlife.church/firebrand, I would love to have you read about those nonprofit outreach partners that we're going to be giving checks to, and that you could be a part of that with us, with our faith, with Lennox's, Clivy's, Clover, Daisy's, and And just to think that we get to all say, hey, God, would you do this at Christmas time? And then like Sissy's going to tell you in this conversation, that's a step towards your child not being entitled, that they have a greater sense of the needs of this world.
Yes. It's life-changing. And for them to grow up with that as being, oh, this is what we do. That raises resilient, strong kids.
Yeah, they're going to help give clean drinking water to a small tribe in Africa. They're going to, help make sure disaster relief equipment is available to Samaritan's Purse. They'll involve your kids in it. Like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to all as a family pray over that. We're going to believe for God's blessing because of it. All of those things. So I can't think of a better way to gear up for the holidays than that.
Amen. I agree.
All right, Jennie. Sissy Goff, how much do you love her? Scale of 1 to 10.
59.
Wow. She's the director of child and adolescent counseling at Daystar Counseling Ministries. She's been in that role since 1993. She speaks and ministers and does interviews. She'll tell a funny story as you listen to the end. Not funny, but
there's humor in it.
Humanity in it.
Yes.
Of being on CNN, which she's also appeared on Good Morning America, NBC Nightly News, Southern Living, That Sounds Fun, which is Annie's podcast. And she's
brilliant, and she's so warm and kind and humble, and she's just wonderful. I just love her so much.
This is her second appearance on Hey, It's the Luskos, and we are already planning the third. More than 7 million downloads of her podcast to date, which is incredible.
Yeah, gosh.
And then she's also the author of 13 books, including the newest, The Worry-Free Parent, which we will ask her about, because if we can deal with our own worries, we'll help our kids deal with theirs.
Yeah.
Because you can't put the oxygen mask on the person sitting next to you until you got your own on.
Come on.
Common sense, right?
Common sense.
All right. Well, enjoy this conversation with Sissy Goff. Well, Sissy Goff, welcome back to Hey, It's the Luskos.
You guys, I'm so glad to be with y'all again. I just always wish we were sitting down in person.
I know.
Yeah,
one of these days it will happen.
With our post-Thanksgiving notches in our belts opened up and all the things. So here we are. We're in full holiday mode. Everything's baggy, sweaters, flannels.
Oh, yes.
It's dangerous.
Shackets.
It is dangerous. Shackets.
What a good word, shacket.
It is a great word.
It's ingenious when there's a word that exists that fits so perfectly something that didn't at some point exist. You're just pleased that it's there.
Agreed.
Well, Sissy, we had a great conversation with you back in January. We talked episode 107, which is crazy that we're now 40-some episodes, or almost 40 episodes past that.
Wow.
But we talked a lot about marriage and the impact of a strong marriage on our kids and what impact,
so powerful.
What kind of a strength we give. You gave us so many amazing handles, and then we talked a lot about also the stages of life, which is helpful to have in our minds, the categories of children, what they need and how their needs change as they grow. And we've thought about that a lot.
Yes.
If people have not heard that, go back and listen to 107 because it was very good.
The feedback from our staff, from people listening.
The Luskoteers were clamorous about it.
Powerful.
So
I'm so glad
we've since then had our oldest turn 18. So now we've got the 6-year-old on the bottom, 18 on the top. So we feel like that spread is more than ever obvious and apparent in our home. So
yes. Wow. That is a huge spread, y'all. That's so fun.
It is fun. We're also exhausted. So
especially during the holidays.
Yes.
Even
Absolutely.
more ramped up.
Life's turned up to 10. A lot of people are feeling that because kids are out of school. And I think everyone feels some sort of self-imposed pressure to create amazing moments and create memories. And that can tend to strip gears a little bit, can't it?
It sure can. Yes. And I think, and we can talk more about this, but I think it makes us angry. Honestly, a lot of times when we're moving that fast and we're trying so hard to get everything right and fun and good, I think we end up not being our best for yourselves and we end up angry.
That's so good.
Totally.
So what is the perspective then that will save us from Clark Griswolding it? From I need this to be the best Christmas ever, all the lights, everything. And it's almost like a speed dating approach
Be
to it.
happy. This is the happiest time of
Don't
the
you
year.
know how hard I worked for this moment, right? How do we get ourselves to the right frame of mind to create, to allow the possibility of magic and those wonderful core memories and all the things without overly stripping the gears?
Mm. Well, I really believe it is not what we do that creates the magic. It's our presence that creates the magic. It's our
Mm.
relationship with the kids that we love. And I think when we are over planning, over scheduling, doing all the things that we're prone to do anyway, I think it strips the magic. Like you said, that's a beautiful word. And so I would really encourage parents to think about, how can I simplify? What
Mm.
can I do so that we're still doing the traditions that are important? We're still having fun, but instead of it being so much created fun, how can we have a spontaneous dance party in the kitchen to Mariah Carey? You know, what can we think
Come
about that's
on.
more just about us engaging with and enjoying each other, rather than having to have all the props and all the accoutrements that just make it bigger and crazier,
Oh
and that
my
we get
gosh.
tense and tight trying to pull off?
Do you
That's
think,
so
Sissy,
true.
it takes
Is
a
that a word,
willingness?
accoutrements, by the way?
No, it is a
Accoutrement.
very good word.
Yes. Well
Accoutrements.
Okay. I didn't.
said,
Accoutrements is a
well
very good
placed
word.
in the sentence.
Oh,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
great.
No, it
Thanks,
is
y'all.
good. Do you think it takes also a willingness to jettison the plan at times? And
Ye-
like you're saying, spontaneous, like that's hard for me, the OCD planner, you know, if I didn't check the things off the list, but oftentimes maybe the most magical moments are the ones that we didn't plan for, but that we allow, right?
Yes, that's a great way to say it. Yes. And we tend to get confused about that and think it does require all the planning, but those are often not the things we remember the most. They're the times that we're the tensest.
Right. But
Wow.
it's interesting though, because I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum where I am just like, oh, whatever happens, where there actually does need to be some kind of plan, which I'm so thankful that Levi does. But I feel like there does have to be that tension of the planning and being ready, but then also being willing to be flexible and
Mm,
ready to go. Because for me, like Levi's really good at tradition, and I think tradition is so helpful to have those things that you think, oh, this is what we do every Christmas Eve, or this is what we do on Thanksgiving morning. Like that's so fun. And to have those is great because for me, I forget. Like I'm just so forgetful that I'm just, oh yeah, wait, what did we do last year? How did I make that recipe? But I think to have both is so helpful because it's like, yes, let's have a plan, but then let's have the flexibility to change things up as needed, or
yes.
if there's a kid who needs something more special or different or whatever. I just there's just a having the margin, I think.
Yeah. The combination of the two of you is a killer combination, because you're right. We do want to plan, and we want to have tradition, and kids love tradition. I think they thrive in
Yeah.
that sameness and things to look forward to, and at the same time to be willing to pivot and to know, like you said, Jennie, I mean, especially if a child's struggling, if there's a different need, that
Mhm.
we can step in and be able to be present with those kids in that moment, and value relationship over. I always think I have to value relationship over right, because
Mm,
I can get really bogged down in the right.
Mm.
very good
Wow, that's
language.
really great.
Yeah, because I am so guilty often of winning battles but losing wars. You know, got the
Yes.
thing done, accomplished the agenda, but didn't really along the way value as much how everyone in my boat was doing on our way to
Mm.
our destination. And then it's like, hey, you may have
Me
got it
too.
accomplished, but at what cost, you know,
Right.
emotionally?
But you've grown a
Yeah.
lot in that.
Wow. Okay, Sissy, so what are some of the ways that your Advent journey that has maybe morphed from your upbringing and what you've intentionally put along the way? How do you, you know, of course, here we sit, Christmas being, you know, 20, 26, 27 days away or whatever.
Mm.
What does your Advent journey look like, and how are you intentional about, you know, bringing magic along the way as you keep your eyes set on Jesus?
Mm.
That's a great question. I love always to have some type of Advent devotional that I'm walking through. And I try to mix it up in terms of which authors I'm using with that. And that's one of my favorite things. And then we have a fundraiser at Daystar. You know, we're a nonprofit, and we have a fundraiser every year, the first Monday of December, that I think for me, even spiritually really ushers me in, because it's like a big lessons and carols service, really, where we're telling stories about kids too. And so that is a huge marker on my Advent journey that points me back. And I love that it's right after Thanksgiving, because I feel like in this stretch we're in right here in this conversation, I can get the most lost in all the details, because that's when I'm really trying to make all the plans and the dinner reservations
Yes.
and I'm the planner of my family too. And so you just can get so focused on all of that. And so
Right.
to have things specifically that I do, that I really set aside all of that and I'm present again, that presentness in the moment to what this season is about is more transformational to me than anything. And I have these two little nephews that I adore, that one is almost 5 and one he'll turn 5 in 2 days. And I have one that is 19 months. And so I think the magic and the wonder of both, of the Christmas season and all that it is enveloped in that, but also the Christmas story just comes to life in a totally new way for me, seeing it through those guys' eyes. And I love folding in the Jesus Storybook Bible too. At
Yes.
Christmas, that's always a beautiful way to read the story in a fresh way that they'll connect with. And somehow I cry more reading that than anything else.
Honestly,
Yeah.
honestly, gosh, I remember after our daughter Lenya went to heaven, this Jesus Storybook Bible was like, I was just reading through it with the kids, but I felt like it was ministering to me more than anything, because it was like even the description of heaven and Jesus with the little children and just all the things. It was like, oh, thank you, God, for this Bible.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Who are some of your
Agreed.
favorite Advent authors
Mm.
that you look to?
Well, I have a few. I love Henry Nouwen. He has got some wonderful kind of chronicling through the year, but specifically Advent. And then I have one called Watch for the Light that is all these different people. He's included, I think, Dietrich Bonhoeffer's in there, Frederick Buechner, a lot of my favorite authors. And then I am a big fan of Kate Bowler. I don't know if y'all are familiar with her.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
She is a divinity professor at Duke and was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and is like, I can't remember how long ago, but she's doing great. And she has a free PDF that's a downloadable Advent devotional that I'm working through this year that I love. And
Wow.
That's cool.
yeah, so I mean, I really do bounce around just a lot of different people. Walter Wangerin has one that I love. I'm kind of an obscure author girl.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm actually impressed. I've not heard one name except for Nouwen that I even know. And I'm excited because, like, yeah, we have our mainstay.
Yeah.
Louis Giglio's is a gem. If anyone hasn't ever read his, or if you haven't, Tim Keller's got Hidden Christmas. John Piper's got
I
a
need to
great
read that
Advent
one.
devotional.
Yes.
And then I love a good Max Lucado Christmas writing. You know, like anything he's done, he's kind of just he masterfully puts you in that moment.
Yeah,
but
he
Greg Laurie,
does.
Pastor Greg Laurie wrote an
yeah.
Advent journey thing that I'm excited this year to mix in. So that's cool. Now we've all got a grab bag with all your recommendations.
Yes, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Love
Lots
that.
more. Yeah. Well, that's
Okay.
fun.
All right. Well,
Have y'all
in a
not heard of
moment,
Frederick Buechner? I'm going to go back to him.
I've heard of Dietrich Bonhoeffer also, by the way. Some people are like, what in the heck,
Okay.
Levi? You're the worst Christian pastor ever. I've not heard of
No.
Buechner, though.
Okay, y'all got to read him. He's my favorite author of all times.
What?
Buechner. Yeah.
Favorite author of all times was the quote.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
going to write that
And
down.
he died a couple of years ago. Most of
Okay.
my favorite authors have gone on before us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, all old and all dead.
Yeah.
There's so many good authors.
I wonder, did Eugene Peterson write an
Oh,
Advent?
yes. He's one of my other favorites.
Does he have
I
an
think
Advent journal, though? A journey, though?
I have all my little seasonal journeys behind me. I mean, journals. I should look. I feel like he does.
I know.
He's written
he
a lot
should've.
about Christmas. Like he has sermons about them and his, come up and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I
But
don't know
not
if there's a
necessarily a
specific, like,
devotion.
earmarked Christmas one. Okay, so in a minute, speaking of authors, Sissy Goff, we have The Worry-Free Parent. I'm holding it here, your new book, which is subtitled Living in Confidence So Your Kids Can Too. Strong work, by the way. That's a great
So
title.
you.
amazing.
Y'all are
And
so
then you
kind.
also have a workbook which is presumably like a small group curriculum. Is that what that is intended to be?
No, but I would love for people to use it that way. That's a great idea. I wrote both as wanting people to feel like they were sitting in my office and that it wasn't just me talking at them, but it was more of a conversation. And so the journal just has the workbook is more like a journal in my mind, and it has a lot more spaces for them to answer questions I'm asking.
So to take it
That's
home,
awesome.
the content home
Right.
from the book. Okay, that's great.
Yes,
Okay, so
exactly.
I do want to talk a lot about this in a moment, but I told you before that I wanted to just take a little bit of time and kind of come around this question that I think all parents feel tension about, and that is, am I wrecking my kids? Am I doing things today? I always ask the question, right? What am I doing today that my kids 30 years from now are talking to their therapist about? And right? And like, how am I giving them ample material for the future to be like, well, it all started when, it's like, oh no, am I in that moment? Am I in the making of a moment of too tough, trouble, like all that, the difficult stuff? But the tension being the other side of it, we don't want to create kids that are weak and that can't
Right.
do hard things and can't do difficult things, right? I mean, the modern verbiage you hear is snowflake, right? This idea of like, we're so afraid of our kids having, identity stuff and all the issues and trauma that we then create soft kids. So could we just talk for a little bit? I know this is not our therapy session, but for the Lusketiers listening, could we just kind of pull at that a little bit, that tension?
Yes. Yes. I love that you're talking about that because I do think, well, let me start off by saying, Levi, I think to your point of what am I doing right now that's going to cause them to be in counseling in 30 years, there probably are things because hopefully all of us will be in counseling at some point during our journey. And
Yes. Good point.
I don't believe good parents are asking those questions. I mean, I think even that you would be curious about that and wondering, there's that, y'all probably have read this, but the attachment theory, which is so much of what we're studying now with kids, says that good parents get it right 50% of the time.
Oh, wow.
And so
That's a
if you're
relief because that's an
isn't that
F. And
awesome?
in our grade scale, that's an F in our mind. But you're saying that's not an F.
That is not an F. At the time when your baby's brain is doubling in size, attachment theory says we need to only get it right 50% of the time. I just
Wow.
think that's beautiful because that's probably the window that it's most important to get it right. And so knowing that, I think it can take a lot of pressure off. And I believe back to what we were saying about the holidays, I think pressure makes us tense, tension makes us anxious, and anxiety makes us angry. And so
Ooh.
I'm sitting with
Wow.
more angry, anxious parents than I have ever sat with in my office. And I want parents to hear me say loudly, if you're asking those questions, if you're a Lusketeer and you love the two of you and are following along, bad parents, let me say that the other way. Bad parents are not listening to your podcast because they don't care enough to invest themselves in this way. So you're getting it right at least 50% of the time.
So you're saying if you're worried you're not doing it right, that then is an indication that you probably are?
Yes, that is a beautiful way to say that, Levi. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
What a way to reframe shame, right? As an evidence. Like, it's like
Yes.
they always used to say when I was in Bible college about the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, the person who's done it isn't worried they did. So if you're worried, did I
Right.
blaspheme the Holy Spirit accidentally one day? You're good. The heart that would ask that question from a tender place is not the person who's done that. So that's kind of what you're
Yes.
saying there.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Which is, by the way, from a non-spiritual standpoint and a therapy-based standpoint, it's a cognitive behavioral therapy tool where we are reframing the thought. That's what we're trying to do in that moment because just like I've never seen as many parents, I think there have always been a lot of angry parents. I think parents are owning up to it more than ever before, which I love. I've never seen as many parents who are trying so hard to get it right, and want these good tools and want to be able to lean in with their kids differently. And I believe out of, again, all that getting it right, we're talking to ourselves really negatively. And I think talking to yourself negatively does more damage than the mistake that we make in the beginning.
Wow.
I think it
Mm.
harms because it can't help but spill over onto the kids we love. And I think I got us way off track of your question.
No, that's
Levi.
good. It's a good
No,
starting place,
but
though.
that's so good because
Okay,
it
because that's where we
starts in our
start.
mind how we think.
You're saying we start
Mhm.
angry, we start beating ourselves up above the anger,
Yes.
which then leads to more, right? Because that
Mhm.
always
Mhm.
spirals, right? And so now we're not
Absolutely.
at a place to be. And I think what you're saying about pressure is so important because I've always had this belief like creativity works out of a relaxed state. So when I get to so close to like it's got to be a good sermon or it's got to be a great book, it's got to be a great. Like I've quenched all hope of creativity because good ideas don't flow there. And neither does good
great.
parenting, and neither does so like
Yes.
all that we're saying, the holidays, our marriages, all the relationships require creativity, and that has to flow through a relaxed state. So you're saying the same thing has to begin for us to get to a place where we're not stripping gears with our kids too, right?
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
In my research, one of the things I read that was really interesting was that anxiety in kids is often linked to a lack of parental warmth. And I don't think it's because anxious parents aren't warm internally, but I think when we get that, where we're quenching out the creativity, when we're getting that intense about things, we can't even access the warmth. We don't know how to get there
Totally. Wow.
in daily life or in the holidays, in either case.
Okay,
Hmm.
so we don't want kids that we've been too tough on, and that's a good sign that we don't want that. But what if,
Yes.
now let's pick at the tension a little bit on the other side because
Yes.
we also don't want to be so warm that they walk all over us, that there's no boundaries, right? Because that's I think the other fear we have. We're going to
Yeah.
raise a serial killer
Yes.
or a sociopath, you know?
Well, we don't want to be passive. I
Yeah.
think we can be warm all day long and not passive as a parent. And I have been thinking a lot about how I feel like culturally we are in this season of often the highest priority with kids, and I think with us individually, becomes feeling our feelings. We're talking about our feelings all the time. And I have been thinking so much about how doing our work is different than feeling our feelings.
Hmm.
And doing our work involves feeling our feelings and helping our kids learn to do that. But doing our work then helps kids learn to move forward out of those feelings, to move toward healthy coping strategies, to move toward resilience, which is exactly what you're talking about. I just feel like I'm sitting with more parents than ever before who are staying in a place of attunement, really listening, reflecting back, doing a beautiful job of hearing, of validating their kids. And then the kids are stuck. I mean, it's like I remember a girl once who said to me, I don't want to grow. I just want to be understood. And I thought, I think I'm the wrong therapist for you because
Hmm.
I believe both are really important. And I think part of when kids don't develop the resilience, that they stay soft, that they don't learn that they're capable of doing hard things, is when we just get stuck in that place with them. In all the anxiety books, I talk about understanding, help, and hope. And I think it's that where we get stuck and land in the understanding and never move towards help, never move toward hope. And I think that really does kids a disservice.
Wow.
Gosh.
You have a follow up to that question?
Well, so we obviously we have the warmth, we have the we hear you, I see you, and our kids want to be known and want to be heard and want to be seen. But then the next step of helping them grow and helping them do hard things and having um the wherewithal to lead them into, hey, you can do this, you've got this. But the response back is, no, I can't because I can't do this. I don't want to do this. It's like, how do you push without like breaking them? Or how do you push without like pushing them too far?
Mm. I wonder if part of that is sitting in the tension of it. Because
Mm.
often we end up pushing because we're on our own time frame rather than necessarily theirs. And I have this formula that I always go back to with kids of empathy and questions. And so starting with a place of empathy of, wow, that sounds so hard. I know you're nervous about doing this, and you are so smart. You are so capable. You are such a great friend. You're so good at math. I know you can stand up and give that speech in whatever class,
Mm.
whatever it is we're reminding them of. I can't wait to watch how you figure this out.
Mm.
And then we step back and give them an opportunity rather than, you can do this, you're capable, let's figure it out together. Or why don't you try this first? Because then they're going to stay dependent on us because
Wow.
we have kept the rope there for them to climb out on rather than pulling the rope up 5 feet where they have to climb up a little on their own and then grab hold of it.
Wow.
Gosh.
Seems to me you're laying out a path, and the path is the good of our cultural moment is everyone's become more aware of feelings. But you're saying that's just telemetry and a gauge on a dashboard, not the end all be all. That we don't want our kids to be at a place where all they do is feel and then do whatever they feel. So
Yes.
our goal in our mind is to get to a place where, to use your words, there's resilience, there's agency, there's grit, some of those things that they have now. I can feel this but not do it. But we're not going to be the one to connect the dots necessarily, because it won't be effective if they don't come to that insight themselves.
Yes, exactly. And when we rescue them, we're creating, well, we probably talked about this before, but the definition I came up with of anxiety in all the research was anxiety is an overestimation of the problem and an underestimation of ourselves. And the
Whew.
two most common
Mm.
parenting strategies in light of anxiety are escape and avoidance. Actually, they're the two most common strategies we use ourselves. So
Wow.
I'm going to stay out of it. I don't want to step into that. And when we step in and pull a kid out, when we rescue, I think even when we give the answers to them, we're basically affirming that definition. You're exactly right. It's too big, you're too small, and you've got to have
Mm.
me fix the problem.
So I'll
And
call your
when
teacher. So I'll call your boss. So I'll
I'll
talk to
talk
the
to the
bully.
coach.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
This
Rather
is Peter.
than,
This is James and John's mom, right? Jesus, can my
mm,
boy sit at your right hand and your? There's helicopter mom
there
even
you
in the
go.
Bible, right?
Isn't that
Hmm.
wild? Yes, that's exactly right. And when we sit with kids and we say, again, I can tell how hard that is. What do you feel like God wants you to do? We are implying in that moment capability with just that one question. You've got what it takes to figure this out, and I can't wait to watch. Rather than, I've
Mm.
got to figure it out for you.
Well, and
Whoa.
then giving them space to fail, because when you're giving them when you're telling them who they are, giving them the space to do it on their own, knowing that there's going to be mistakes made, failures, and how do you walk in that? So, like, when they don't do it right, or they mess up, or they fail, how do we reframe failure for our kids without shaming them, or, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did this, or like, how do you guide them into walking into the failures that they
Mm.
experience?
Well, I'm glad we're talking about that because, too, I've never seen as many perfectionistic kids as I'm seeing right now. I mean, that are
Gosh,
putting
yes.
immense amounts of pressure on themselves in
Yeah.
every area, academically, relationally, extracurricular, sports. I mean, it's just across the board. And I also am talking to a lot of parents of kids who the kids won't try new things because they don't want to do anything they don't know they're going to already do well
Yes.
automatically.
Wow.
Yes.
And so, I mean, a couple of things with that. One is I want us to all have mantras that we go back to over and over that are things like failure is how we learn.
Mm.
Failure is how we grow. That we just say statements like that. I mean, I was thinking about this literally yesterday about how we all have statements like, my mom always said, and my dad always said. And I think for so many of us, our parents, that's kind of how we got to their stuff. That's where their own fears, their own sins sometimes came out. It's because the statements they would go back to a lot.
Wow.
And we know enough now to be proactive with those statements. I mean,
Mm.
what do you want your kids to say? My mom always said, or my dad always said.
Mm.
And what a beautiful answer to that question. Failure is how we grow. I would be an immensely different person if my mom or dad had said that a couple of times when I was growing up, let alone often, you know? And so to have statements like that we say regularly, and I think it's really important for us as families to be doing. I mean, obviously, I love when we have adventures together, when we are doing things together, and to have some of those that no one can do well. So if your family is really creative, I want you to go to a batting cage. If you're really
Mm.
athletic, I want you to go paint pottery together. And I want your kids to watch you wrestle and be in the midst of something hard, not do it well. And then I want them to watch you laugh at yourself in the process.
Wow.
Because those of us who are perfectionistic do not laugh at ourselves at all. And so
Wow.
for kids to be able to see that, because even when they're teenagers and they're never going to give it away, you're still their heroes.
Wow.
And so to see that my heroes fail, they struggle and they learn from it and they're okay. I just think what an immense gift for them forever, for their relationships, for their work, for their life. And we know that we need Jesus to the degree that we know that we fail. And so we're also
Yes.
so much
Wow.
creating this space for grace as we talk about those things with them.
Gosh, that's
It
life-changing.
sounds like you're saying that failure is not a necessary evil, that it's just necessary, right? Like it's
Mm,
it's not some terrible thing. It's something to be
Hmm.
embraced. And in fact, if you're not failing often or frequently enough, we should be asking the question, why not, right?
yes,
Mm.
that's exactly right. What is going on? Yeah, I would maybe even say it's a necessary grace because it's the
Hmm.
path that we get there.
Wow. Very good. And
Wow.
asking ourselves questions, what are we repeating so often that our kids are going to say, as my parents always said, and if
Mm.
it's someone, I heard language once, it was in a book somewhere that was, you're smart, you'll figure it out. You're smart, you'll figure it out. I think it was actually a management book, like a leadership book for a business. But if you say that about your employees and you don't just, well, then I'll just do it, whatever, you can actually develop agency in your team. And probably the same is true in kids. If your assumption is you're smart, you'll figure it out, that they will believe that about themselves and not back away from anything that doesn't come naturally to them.
Yes,
Hmm.
Okay.
exactly.
Well, this is very good. How about entitlement? How do we not spoil them? Because I think that's the other thing we want to, it's holidays, parents are, buying gifts and all the things. Like,
Hmm.
what are some of the maybe kind of in your mind, markers of the trail to where, of course, we want to bless our kids and all that, but where we don't, raise kids that are entitled or spoiled or kind of some of those felt needs.
Hmm.
I had a mom who brought her daughter in and she said, I'm bringing her in because she has a serious case of the Moors, which I'd never heard, but I love that. Like, I just want more and more and more and more.
Yes.
And
Wow.
can I go really practical, y'all, on
I
that?
want you to be as
Yes.
blunt as you feel like
Yes,
being. Yeah.
please.
Okay, well, a couple of things. One is I want you to give as a family this season, whatever that looks like. If it's volunteering at a soup kitchen together, if it's sponsoring some kind of angel tree as a family, not just where you're writing a check, but I want the kids to go to Target and pick out gifts for a child their same age. I want us to expand our vision to folks who are in need because I think
Yeah.
it can become so self-focused in this season. So that's one thing I want us to think about doing. And another is I want you as a parent to stop buying gifts from your child for other people. I mean, the amount of times I sit with kids in my office and I say, what do you do for your siblings for Christmas? And they'll say, I don't know. My mom just picks out something and puts my name on it. And
Hmm.
so if that means you have an allowance that each person gets and you go to Target or you go to Walmart and they're buying something silly that doesn't matter, great. They're getting to go through the process of giving to that
Wow.
person, having to think about the other person because I think it's just creating more entitlement when we're putting names on gift
Wow.
tags for them. I want them to go through the motions of giving. I mean, we have a tradition that I take my little nephew since he was 3 every year to Target and he gets to pick out a gift for his mom and his dad from him. And he helps me wrap it and he gets the wackiest things at his age. He wants to get him Legos, which is fine. I don't even care. I just
Right.
want him to feel like I'm giving to my mom and dad because they matter that much to me. And that's a lot of what the holiday season is about is me giving to other people.
That's
Very
powerful.
good.
Those are two very helpful
Helpful.
things.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
practical.
I want to shift gears here because speaking of hard things and challenging subjects, I understand the occasion for you writing this book was born out of a particularly hard thing that took place in Nashville that you were right in the kind of mix of.
Hmm.
Mm. Well, yeah, I had written the book before all of that happened, but I was definitely right in the mix of it. And I've been so grateful for what I have learned about anxiety and yes, Daystar was really involved in the Covenant shooting in Nashville
Mm,
last March. And we have long loved that school. It's the sweetest place. Catherine Kuntz, who was the head of school, was a dear friend of mine.
mm.
And we have spoken there a million times, have a lot of the kids in counseling. And so when it happened, our staff was really involved very quickly, just trying to do
Wow.
everything we possibly can for these kids and families and are continuing to. We immediately just decided we'd waive the fee for counseling for any kids involved,
Mm.
knowing that it would be a
Wow.
long haul walk with them to help them work through this. And it's interesting because I have a new friend that's kind of emerged through all this happening who was a therapist involved in Sandy Hook. And she immediately reached out to me when it happened. Her name's Nero Feliciano. She's amazing. And she said to me, I think within 2 days, she said, the two populations we watched struggle the most were one, the kids who were anxious already, and two, the parents.
Mm.
And that has been the case in Nashville too. I mean, of course,
Right.
as a parent, how would you not feel that? And I think we are living in a time that is, I think it's scarier for kids to grow up than it's ever been, but it's scarier to watch kids navigate life. I mean, even if we were just talking about something silly like technology, that is so complicated for kids, so complicated for parents. And then when we have things like school shootings, I was doing a parenting seminar over Zoom. I don't even remember where it was. And a mom said, okay, so I hear you talking about talking back to your worry and helping yourself understand that so much of what we worry about is irrational. But what about when it's rational, like school shootings? That should
Yeah.
never have to be a conversation we have
Yeah.
ever. And
Right.
it is. And so I have been really grateful to be able to help, I think in a different way. I mean, it's all in how God works. I wrote the book for kids about anxiety right before the pandemic happened. I feel like God just prepares us for where he's going to call us, often
Oof.
right before it happens. And so it's a really long answer to your
No,
question,
that's
but
good.
It's so true.
That resonates so much. I remember holding Linya, our 5-year-old daughter at the time, in December
mm,
when the Sandy Hook shooting took place. She was snuggling me in the morning. I was reading the news, having my coffee, and getting ready to kind of get my day going. And holding her on my lap as the footage of the Sandy Hook shooting was dominating the coverage of the, on the TV and in the newspaper. And I remember thinking, how do you possibly go about planning a funeral for a 5-year-old?
Mm.
My mind
mm,
couldn't. And as I held my
yeah,
5-year-old, I couldn't even
yeah.
fathom it. So my mind like rejected it. Like I actively rejected that duty,
Mm-hmm.
not having any clue that same month, that same
5 days
5
later.
days later, we would be planning a
Oh,
funeral for
y'all.
that very little girl.
Wow.
So it is
Ugh.
unfathomable to think about. And so for me, the way I resonate with this is like the tendency on the back end of Linya being, taken from us would have been to clamp down far too much, far too vigorously on our other kids.
Yeah.
It's like they'll never be left out of our sight. We'll never leave them. They'll sleep in between us. It's like, so for us, the
Yes.
first time we flew again without our kids, the first time we
Mm.
went on a date night because she had gone to heaven on a date night, that while that happens, like, well,
Mm,
I'm never doing that again. It's like the
Mm.
overreaction. So how do we
of
see
course.
a shooting like you're talking about, but
Mm.
then our response not be to, again, overdo it?
Micromanage. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't I don't have a great answer for that. What I would say is something that happened to me through the process of the shooting. And that day that it happened, several of our staff went down to the reunification center and a couple of folks immediately went down to be with the kids and I was up in the basement and I was upstairs with the parents and wanting to help them know how to talk to their kids about what had just happened. And anyway, spent the day there and because of a series of events, ended up doing some interviews on media trying to help, like across the country. How do we talk to kids about this when this kind of tragedy has happened? And out of that, I got a phone call that asked me to come be on CNN the next morning. And I was a nervous wreck to go be on CNN, and I was not paying attention because I was exhausted, and just everybody was such a wreck in our community. And so I wasn't paying attention to the location. And so I drove down to this address, and as I was pulling in, realized it was across the street from Covenant. And a little bit like when we watch some kind of interview outside of the White House and they're all lined up with all those cameras, it was just like that. There were all these cameras.
Wow.
And I hadn't driven by since the shooting had happened. And so I pulled into the parking lot, and I was saying to myself, Sissy, don't cry, don't cry. You're about to have to go do this. And so I get out of the car. It's Nashville in March. Wasn't prepared for it to be cold. It's freezing. The CNN guy comes and finds me, and I'm standing there and I thought at least some nice person was going to interview me, and that would help me not feel as nervous. Well, instead it's on this huge camera, and I have AirPods in, and they're talking to me from Atlanta, and they're about to start the countdown. I mean, I just was terrified and thinking, I want to honor this school that I love so dearly.
And your
And my friend
community, all
Catherine
that.
Coombs.
Yeah.
Yes, all those things. And I'm standing there, and this silly thing happens to me when I get really cold and my kneecaps start shaking. And I don't know if it was that or nerves, but I was standing there, my kneecaps were shaking. And I thought, Sissy, just turn around. Just look away from the camera for a minute. They're getting ready anyway. And so I turned around, and y'all, there was the sign for the Covenant School. It was the first time I really looked at it. And next to it was a sign announcing their Easter services. And I thought, that is it. Like, I have nothing to say of value in this moment, but all I know is the darkest day ever in our community is not what defines us. And what does define us is this Easter sign that is hanging up there. This is not all there is. This is not the end of the story. And I can hang on to that truth. And we all can as a community. And I think even any parent that's listening to this podcast, that's what I would want to say. We can micromanage all we want. We cannot prevent bad things from happening.
Right.
We just can't. But no bad thing has the final word. It does not define who your kids are. It does not define who we are as families, who we are as individuals. And I think all I know is that there is a trust that transforms us as believers, because it is not dependent on us. And so that is, it's not a great answer. It's not a practical answer, but it's a big picture answer that can keep me walking through the darkest of days, is that I can trust in what that day points me to.
That's the answer.
Trust that transforms. I think that's highly practical because Easter is always
Thank
coming.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Easter's coming.
Yep.
The resurrection's coming. And I'm sure what you said is brilliant on CNN, and what you just said here is life-changing.
Yeah.
And so whether it's the war in the Middle East, or whether it's the school shooting, or something, a neighbor that has cancer, we shouldn't be afraid of hard conversations with our kids. They can handle that, but you're saying it's got to be anchored with hope. And so it's the darkness with the light that's coming. It's with Sunday that's on its way. It's with, here's what God wants to do, right?
Yes. Yes. We acknowledge the darkness, but no, the darkness does not define us.
Wow.
Yeah, the light's stronger.
And so if we do have a kid, which we do have a child that tends towards anxiety, more highly, like a quick thinker, high planner.
Which I'm currently listening. Almost done with Raising Worry-Free Girls, which has been life-changing. And I'm so grateful for you and your voice and your heart. It's been helpful with this child of ours,
which is wonderful. But my point was,
sorry,
the stem of some of that comes from us.
Yeah,
us projecting then and radiating then the worries that we haven't dealt with, that then can repeat themselves in our children if the things that they're always hearing repeated from us is going to feed that anxiety.
Yeah.
Yes. If as a parent you have anxiety, your kids are 7 times more likely to deal with it themselves.
Gosh, wow.
And I would unequivocally say that the best thing you can do for your kids is to do your own work, and to do your own work around worry and anxiety in this day and time.
Wow. So not just personally stopping at feeling your feelings, but then doing the hard things. We want kids,
them how to do the hard things.
We want kids that can feel their feelings, not as an end, but as a beginning. We have to feel our feelings and then do our hard work, and then it will radiate there in a good way. Good spirals.
Yes, exactly. Can you imagine what it would have been like growing up to watch your parents acknowledge what they feel and then move toward healthy coping strategies? I mean, what?
Gosh.
And fail
It
along
would
the
be
way.
life-changing and
Yes.
fail along the way and point us
Yes.
toward hope. All of those things. We
I
would all
mean,
be
hey,
different.
I can get a 50% passing grade as a
We're
parent.
doing it right now.
That's very good.
We're doing better than we
Well,
think.
Sissy Goff, Worry-Free
much
Parent
better.
is the new book, the handbook as well, workbook rather. We point everybody to get this. Where can people
Yes.
keep track of all the things that are Sissy Goff and all the things?
RaisingBoysandGirls.com is our website. And then I try to stay really active on Instagram through Sissy Goff and Raising Boys and Girls both, just to help as much as I possibly can in this season.
Do you have any parting words for the Lusketiers as we barrel towards the holidays and all the things, just kind of anything before we sign off?
Well, I'm just so grateful for the Lusketiers that they're with you, because I think one of the reasons that parents are anxious right now is that there are too many voices. There are too many experts, and that we have all of these different things that we're supposed to be doing and ways we're supposed to be making it look. And I have been saying to parents a lot lately, I want you to pick a couple of voices. I want you to pick 3 or 4, 2 or 3 voices that you trust who are speaking into your marriage, into your parenting, into your life, and quiet the other voices, because often that's why we feel like we're failing. And so I am so grateful for the Lusketiers being attached to the two of you, because you are voices I love and trust so much. And I'm just grateful for your guidance in this world through so many things.
Oh, goodness.
We love you.
We love you.
Sissy.
Much
Thank
back to
I
you.
love you
Merry
guys.
Christmas, Sissy. We love you. And
Merry
thanks for coming on
Christmas.
again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to swing by LeviLusko.com and JennieLusko.com to see what's going on in our world.
And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And in the meantime, we would love to connect with you on social media.
Jennie and Levi Lusko out.
Access more